Here is how you edit a podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 69 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Roberts. With me as usual is John Denton.
What?
We're going to do what we always do, two top 10 lists, the games we've been playing over the past 7 days. Number 10s are the games we've played the most, the least. Number 1s are the games we played the most. That's it, John. Let's do this thing.
My number 10 is a game, I think it's called 1,000 Snakes. I bet the best way to find it, I found it, someone tweeted it just before I went out, before we did the podcast. Best way to find it is probably to Google 1,000 Snakes. All I'll say is it's a joke game. It takes probably about a minute to play, and it's got a very fine use of Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. Play it, it takes a minute. It's funny. It made me laugh, but it might not make you laugh, but I'm an idiot. We knew that.
Okay, all right, at least it's funny then. I thought when you said Bittersweet Symphony and you said good, I thought it was going to be something
no. Like one of those types of games.
Oh, good. Let's play for laughs.
No, it's gags.
All right, good. Very good. Okay, right, my number 10 is a game, or rather it's an art exhibit called ROM Check Fail.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, have you really? When I was in Berlin, I went to the Computer Spiel Museum, which is really popular apparently.
Does that mean computer games?
To play, I think Spiel means, yeah. So it's the video game museum. And yeah, there was this art exhibit by some Australian artist called Farbs, and it was on a small screen, and you had an old school joystick with like an Atari joystick. And the blurb said something about there's figures and elements from history and I'm mixing them to create accidentally generated mini-games. It's actually a really nice idea, but like a lot of the stuff at that museum, it's clearly made for people who don't play video games. It's just a bit of a novelty. Basically, a screen will pop up and it'll be a background from Mario or a background from Pac-Man, and in there will be a Space Invader or an Asteroids, or a Zelda will be there, or a missile command screen. Basically, it'll mix the characters or the actions of one game and put them in the background of another, and it does that every 5 seconds. So bang, you're Mario in a Pac-Man maze, bang, it's Missile Command in a Zelda land, bang. But if 5 seconds you can't do anything, you just about realise where the character is and you start moving it and then it changes again. So it's quite a neat idea, but it kind of pissed me off that I couldn't physically. I mean, they're not really mini games, because if you had to get, if you were Pac-Man, you had to get your dot in, Space Invaders, that would be one thing, but yeah, you don't. It's a novelty thing that you look at for 5 minutes and go, oh, look, things are mixing themselves up. It's nice, but it could have been a good game. Shame.
Yeah, that's a shame. That kind of misses the point of gaming.
True that.
In my opinion, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, that's cool that thing exists, I guess.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to look at, discuss for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Look at you going to Germany and going to fucking art museums. Who are you? Bring back Sam, that's what I say. Right, my number 9 is a game called A Second Chance. Again, someone tweeted this. I think it might have been one of the Idle Thumbs guys. This is a game on Newgrounds, but it's not like most Newgrounds games in that it's good. Basically, you play as a guy who is in charge of... You know the guy that says, Houston, we have a problem, in exactly that voice in Apollo 13?
The actor?
No, but that guy. In real life, that guy. Yeah, okay. Whatever the hell that job would be, you're that guy.
Okay.
And the plot of the game is Armageddon. Basically, you need to send 4 guys with a bomb to blow up an asteroid. You're in the not missile command, like Rocket Command Land or whatever the fuck you'd call it. And you have a bunch of commands in front of you on a console, and then in the screen in the background you can see little cartoon flashy versions of the 4 guys holding a bomb and a rocket, and you've got stuff like enter rocket, leave rocket, roger. You can do a countdown, launch, detonate the bomb, drill a hole, and the idea is to get them in the rocket, get them up into space, drill a hole in the thing. You can work. It's Armageddon. What's funny about the game is fucking up. Basically, it's not actually that difficult to succeed, but there are a million ways to fuck up, and it compensates and animates all of them. So you might just blow up all your guys straight away, or tip the rocket over, and every single time it just cuts to like your guy just face palming. And yeah, it's just a really funny game with loads of different outcomes. It's a good way to kill 10 minutes, and just made me laugh constantly. So it's called A Second Chance. Type that into Newgrounds or Google A Second Chance Newgrounds, and yeah, again, gags.
I suppose the idea then is to just fuck up as many times as possible.
Yeah, I fucked up first time, and then second time I did it and saved the world, and you got like a really triumphant screen. And then I thought, oh, well, that was easy. So yeah, and then I thought, well, let's see what all this other stuff does. And then I realised what the game was actually all about.
Okay, all right, that sounds all right.
It's funny, man. It's genuinely funny.
It's on Newgrounds.
Yeah. It's by Major Bueno. I don't know who that is, but the people who are tweeting about it did. So that might mean something to you.
Okay, well, not me personally, but I'm sure it will to someone. It sounds kind of like Space Team, actually, weirdly.
Oh, maybe. I still need to play that. We should have played that when you were down.
I know, I thought that as I was driving away. Okay, my number 9 is the arcade version of Donkey Kong, which I also played at the German Video Game
Bringing
Museum.
the thunder this week.
Yeah. No, but I saw Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong is my earliest gaming memory. A relative rented me a NES when I was, like, tiny, and I played that game and Donkey Kong Jr. non-stop, so I was just like, I'm going to fucking Wiebe this bastard, and I went over, and because it had a load of arcade cabinets, and they were all free to play, and it's a really ancient cabinet. It's got one of those small... a really small joystick. You know how really hardcore professional Street Fighter players, they sort of put the joystick base in between their thumb and their forefinger and their middle finger, and then they put their thumb on top of it. Yeah. And they kind of seem to... I mean, that's how you have to play this. And I found that I had more control over it. It's strange. I'd never played a game like this. But it's... I know they make a big fuss about it in King of Kong, but it's so difficult. I'd completely forgotten how difficult it was. I mean, I also forgot it's only 2 screens long. But I did 3 laps. I did 2 screens 3 times, which is pretty damn good. It's still really, really compelling. Yeah, it's still a classic, and it's. I wouldn't want to play it on a pad because it works so well on that tiny little joystick. It's
What's
great.
the name of the crazy screen?
The kill screen.
Is that what it's called? The kill screen? Yeah.
What, when they're walking around going, we're going to see a kill screen over here
oh, yeah, that's
5 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's just called a kill screen.
Twin galaxies up in here.
Yeah, but it's remarkable that it's still as good as it is. Yeah, great. I loved it.
Yeah, I had that one. Was there like a Game & Watch version of that? I think I had that shit.
Oh, it wouldn't have been the same sort of... Well, probably something.
All right, Wiebe, calm down. All right, I don't have anything to say about Donkey Kong. Right. But brilliantly, though, my next game is a game called Chimpact, which... I like and it. Now you can see why I downloaded it.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at what was coming out on 3DS, and I was scrolling down a list. It might have been on IGN or something. And there was this game, Chimpact, and I thought, I bet that's on iPhone because it's got a stupid enough name. And lo and behold, it was. It was actually a free version. It's a Chilingo game, and it has that same thing you've talked about before with a lot of Chilingo games, where everything's in place, but it just lacks a little bit of, flavour.
Yeah.
But you're a monkey, a chimp, I should say, and there are vines. You're going upwards, and you ping down on the vines, kind of almost Angry Bird style, and propel your chimp upwards, and he has to collect bananas. Every time you do collect a banana, a little trumpet sound plays, and it's a bit like Johnny Briggs. And then, you collect diamonds, more diamonds, opened up more levels. It was a really simple iPhone game. It isn't brilliant, but it's fine. It's got an amazing name. It doesn't quite live up to the name, and the monkeys aren't funny enough. They're kind of shit.
Oh.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with monkeys, you've got a lot of potential to be funny. So you need to use that, as far as I'm concerned, especially with a name like Chimpact.
Yeah, yeah. They shot themselves in the foot coming up with a title.
They went too hard.
Yeah.
I admire them for coming up with a name at some point and then deciding to build an entire game around it. But still.
Yeah.
Kudos to whoever came up with that, though. He should be promoted immediately.
Yeah, I second that. Absolutely. Okay, my number 8 is the final game. Well, I played many games at the computer museum, but this is the last one on the list, and it's not really a game. It's more of... It's not even... I don't even know what it is. It's called Pain Station.
Oh my God.
I can't remember at the end of last year when we did our top 20 list of the year, whether we impose rules on ourselves and stuff. But if we're a bit lax about it, this is going to make the cut in my top 20 games of the year. I didn't catch. They were very vague about who created it. It's another art exhibit stroke video game, but we got there and it says please get somebody to speak to. You know, you had to go and get the attendant before you were allowed to play it.
Right.
And as soon as she came along and she reached inside it, because it looks like it's basically a huge box that looks almost like a green metal safe. She reached inside and pulled out a contract that we had to sign saying we wouldn't sue them. And as she was doing this, I was like, okay. I looked at the hold on, let me have a look. I looked at this sign that was on the wall, and this is what it says. Look, I put this on Twitter, but if you didn't see it, this is what it says. The pain station causes real pain. Playing it is at one's own risk and not the artist's. The artist assumes no liability. After intense play, one of the following injuries can occur: third-degree burns on the palm due to severe impact of heat, paralysis of the left body, hemiplegia due to electric shocks, hematoma and open wounds on the back of the hand due to repeated whip slashes. And as everyone was, me and Tom and Zeno, they were started to sign this contract, and I started to break out in a sweat, and I was like, if anything's going to kill me, we just spent 3 days out on the piss. I hadn't slept. I was like, the electric shock's going to give me a heart attack and I want to keel over and die in the fucking computer museum. And then the girl looked at me, she was like, it's not that bad. But part of the brilliance of it is that it actually is that bad. Basically, two players have to play it. You stand on either side of the box. You place your left hand on a panel and your right hand you use a knob. Basically, in the middle of the screen is Pong. As you play Pong, you start normally, you're just playing Pong, and then boxes start to appear behind your paddle, different colours. There's green, red and blue. So the idea is it's like the wall behind your paddle. As soon as you let a ball go past, it will hit one of the colours, and one of three things will happen. Either the panel will heat up like a hob, like an oven hob, under your hand. A piece of metal tubing will repeatedly whip the back of your hand, or you'll get a small electric shock. Part of the fun of it, I say fun, first of all, it's the anticipation, obviously, because you're playing Pong and you know that something's coming. But also, it's the incredulity, because they actually hurt, all of them. But what happens is there are these collectibles that you try and avoid, but inevitably you hit them, and then the ball goes faster and faster and faster until you just keep getting the shit beaten out of you. The most worrying one is the hob, which just, I mean, after you get hit by that twice on the bounce, you can really feel your hand starting to burn. But it's I'm not making it sound hilarious when it really is hilarious. We were in absolute fits. I actually took a video. I might put the audio at the end of this podcast just so you can hear it. Because everything descends into just absolute hysteria. And we played. I mean, as soon as we left that museum, we all just said we should have not have left, and we could have just stayed playing that all day. The only thing I will say is that I'm not 100% sure the electric shocks were electric shocks, because I never got shocked. Right. But Tom suggested that it might have been. You know how those arcade machines say 1,000 jolts instead of volts. But nevertheless, they got shocked, and they didn't look like it was pain-free. But God damn it, it was the most entertaining thing we did the whole weekend. No offence to the people I went there with, but Pain Station. I don't know whether there's more than one. I don't know whether they tore that around. I don't know whether anyone will get a chance to play it.
What city was it in?
What city? It was in Berlin. And I didn't see, again, the panel wasn't there that said who created it, but and there was a dodgy plug. She just plugged it into the mains, and looked like the wires were about to come out of it. I thought I was going to die. But if there's ever an opportunity to play it, Google it. Maybe there's one in London or something. But Pain Station, hilarious and brilliant. Just a genius idea. I haven't sold it very well, but if you can find footage online,
yeah, that sounds good. Well, it sounds like hell, but I want to play it.
No, but I was in uncontrollable. We were all three of us were in fits of laughter. Everyone in the museum just started gathering around and watching us play it over and over again, because the punishment is funny because it's so severe. It is actually really quite severe. But yeah, sorry. I think I've done a shit job of explaining it, but there's bound to be videos online, so have a look. It's brilliant.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good.
Pure genius.
That sounds fucking good. My number, what am I on, 7 is, it's not as funny, but it's probably just about as painful. Marvel Heroes on the PC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, right. So this is a free-to-play game. It is a Diablo-style hit everything, top isometric, top down, whatever, hit everything game, pick up loot, do whatever. How it works in free to play is that you can get one of 5 characters for free. They had Daredevil, The Thing, I think they had Storm, Hawkeye, and one other that I've forgotten. And you can buy new heroes and new costumes, whatever. I chose The Thing. Yeah, at its basic premise, it's fine. Marvel guys doing Diablo. Yeah, all good. The problem is, there's just no game. There's no game here whatsoever. You just walk around and click on baddies, and your bloke will just go up and hit them, and then you can right-click and you'll do a different move. Then eventually you'll fight someone you recognise, like the Green Goblin, and then he'll drop some loot, and then you get the loot, but it doesn't really, it's not like anything interesting's happening. You're not really... There's skill trees, but all you're adding to is just boring moves. There's nothing to it. There's just nothing to it. It's so boring. I thought maybe this is going to be one of those games that if you're really tired or hungover or something, you've just got no mental capacity, you can just kind of slug through it. But even then, it'd be a struggle. So after that, I was like, fucking hell, that was dark. I went online to see to read some reviews to see what other people who've put more time into it have said, and apparently you can end up paying like $30 for a new hero, all of it, and they're basically the same. They have different moves and stuff like that, but not, all you're doing is walking around clicking on things, and it's just a nothing. It's a big pile of nothing, and I don't really like free-to-play because I haven't been convinced yet. The only free-to-play game that has convinced me that it's can ever work is New Star Soccer. I really want to play one on PC, a proper game that has the structure in place and has the in-apps in place and all that sort of stuff, and it wouldn't be in-app, you know what I mean? This is certainly not that. This is just sludge.
Shit, did you say PS3 or PC?
PC.
Is that the one that's also available on PS3 free-to-play?
Maybe. It's really new. It's only been out a few weeks.
Okay, and then
that might be DC Universe.
I'm thinking of that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's more of an MMO.
That's what I was going to say.
This is also an MMO. This is the other crazy thing about it. After you do the first level, which is like a tutorial, every other level you do after that is just fucking millions of people. But because there's so few heroes, you'll go in and it'll be like 5 things, 2 Spider-Mans, 5 Storms, and everybody's just kicking the shit out of everything. And because there's so many people, they'll just complete the quest for you. So you can't even catch up to where you need to be because you just get spawned in and, the quest got beaten, and then enemies will just spawn up around you. It's wank.
That sounds so shite.
It's wank. I don't understand how... I mean, that type of game doesn't massively appeal to me anyway. As I've said before, loot and stuff doesn't do a lot. But there's nothing to it. There's no gameplay.
Yeah. I like dungeon crawlers when they're good, but there are some people, some of whom I know, who will just play the shittest dungeon crawler and just get something out of just endlessly going from A to B, looting, doing all that shit, and getting into fights that involve no skill, blah blah. Right, I won't be playing that. My number 7 is a Nintendo 3DS game called Fractured Soul.
The one where you split between the 2 worlds.
Yes. You'd spoken about it before. I thought it would be right up my street, and it basically is, but I think it's too hard.
It is too hard.
It's so hard that I started to think by the end of it that they'd made it... I think there are things that it was asking you to do that as a human being are almost impossible.
I think you'd have to rewire your brain to work in a completely different way.
Exactly. There were moments in it where I thought that's beyond me. I mean, the demo I think is a bit too long because I was almost certainly going to buy it during the first 10, 20 minutes because it's a very cool idea. We
should explain what it is in case people didn't hear the whole podcast.
It's a side-scrolling action game and you're this robot, and basically there's a replication of you on the bottom screen, and it's 2 parallel dimensions. So some things, some obstacles, some things, enemies will be in one and not in the other, and vice versa. So you flip between them, and you can flip between them to go and kill one enemy on the top screen, and then flip back and then do some platforming on the bottom. If there's something missing if there's a ladder missing at the bottom, you flip to the top, and then you can climb up the ladder. It's a very, very good idea. But actually, the first 10 minutes, I was like, this is like a fantastic comedy set, and ideas are just like jokes, because every possible system, every way they could sort of use that system, I was like, this is endless clever stuff. And then you have to jump in the air, change dimensions, grab onto something, let go of the button. You have to do so many things in the space of 1 to 2 seconds that I just began to think, this is so... I did it in the beginning, but after that I just got to basically hit a brick wall. And the fact that that happens in a demo means that it should have probably been shorter. But like I said, I did get to bits where I thought, that's not possible. A human being cannot look between... do action... top screen, action, bottom screen, action, top screen, let go of the button, all in the space of 1 to 2 seconds. It's not possible. Well, I say that, it probably is possible. I'm just an old bastard. And
it felt like you'd have to... It's like learning an instrument or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it would require way too much work. It's a really cool game, though. Just that idea, I'm sure it's been done in other places, but the beginning, I was like, wow, this is a keeper. But you were not wrong when you said it got difficult, because...
I had the exact same reaction almost... to a T. I probably got a little bit further because I was playing the proper game, but it was so hard I couldn't get that much further. It was just too much.
Yeah, I played it for half an hour, and for a demo, that just... I'm glad they were that generous, but it's... I'm glad that I now know that it's not a game to invest in, but for them it must be a bit of a bummer, because...
Yeah.
So
It just needed to... Either they wanted to make it as hardcore as possible, or it needed more playtesting.
Yeah, maybe. Worth a look at the demo though. Just
yeah. See, if you're up for the challenge, like if you've got a lot of time, I guess better that than Marvel Heroes anyway.
True that.
All right, my number 6 is a bunch of games all put into one. I'm just going to call it 3DS. Played. I've talked about all the different games so many times before. And the main reason I brought it up, I played a bunch of Mario Kart, a bunch of Luigi's Mansion, a bunch of Mario 3D Land, all the games that I've got. And it's amazing, I've had these games for ages, and they're kind of timeless, and you forget that about Nintendo stuff. I mean, so many games are kind of transient these days, and they cost what they cost, and then you play them, you trade them, whatever you happen to do with them. But these games, there's no reason to get rid of them. And Mario Kart, Mario 3D Land, I've had for probably, when did they come out? Ages ago.
It is ages ago. I'm trying to think. Yeah.
And every time I put them on, it still feels completely fresh. I played about an hour online on Mario Kart, and it was just great fun. It doesn't feel like I've got the most out of it. I've got through that one. I'm on to the next game. It just feels like this thing that you can just have. And I played another Nintendo game. I'll talk about it later in the list, and that kind of felt like that too. And it gives you an appreciation for how good their best stuff actually is in a kind of from a longevity point of view. It's no wonder that they managed to... They're the only games, aren't they, that manage to sell constantly.
Yeah.
Every other game has the big peak and then just dies off, but their games they can sell all year round for years. And that's why it is kind of amazing. And I'm really into the 3DS at the moment. I still want that big boy, but I'm enjoying the just going back through the old games, playing them like an hour at a time here. I'm getting through them steadily. But there's no reason to get rid of any of the stuff. It's just an awesome machine.
Yeah, I do kind of glow a little bit every time I turn it on, because it's just the amount of great games that are already available on it, I think. And considering you and Sam spoke about it briefly last week, there was a time when everyone was just like, it's dead, it's going to die, they're not going to be able to support it. And already there are so many classic games on it. It's absurd. And I haven't even played bloody Fire Emblem yet, which is bothering me, but never mind. Okay, my number 6 is Mount Your Friends on the Xbox 360.
Nice.
Have you played any more of it?
No, I really want to play it with other people around and drinks. That just seems like the only way.
Yeah, I've been touring this thing basically like a PR. Everywhere I go, I'm basically ensuring that people download it and we have a few games on it. It's just gotten bigger and bigger. I saw IGN were doing videos on it the other day.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of exploded. I think there's something quite appropriate about the fact that it's still unclear about what Microsoft are going to do with indie games, if anything. But this is the perfect indie game, as far as I'm concerned. It's too slight to be an arcade game, and it wouldn't work anywhere near as well on a touchscreen device. It needs to be on a pad, and it's the perfect indie game. I've been playing it around friends. Like I said, just showing it to people. I haven't had a bad reaction. Everyone's just kind of amazed. I mean, the crucial thing about it, and also the other thing is, just yesterday, I can't believe as completely enamoured with it as I've been, and as much praise as I've heaped on it, all of it warranted, I didn't realise that there's fucking online multiplayer.
Yeah.
I
noticed that. Yeah,
I had no idea. I thought it was just local. You can play against people online. That's mad. I had no idea. I mean, the key to this though, and the reason I don't think this would have got quite the amount of excitement if it was priced at 400. I mean, it would have been so easy for the guy because it's actually a very slick game. Although it looks simple, it's actually a really, really slick. It could have been overpriced, but he's massively over-delivered. 80 Microsoft points suddenly seems like absolutely nothing when it comes to that game, and that's the key. I think he's over-delivered to such an extent where I mean, people I know who haven't even bothered. They've just heard the recommendation and they've just bought it without even sampling it, and they weren't disappointed. It's great. If you haven't looked, you have to have a look.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I really want to play it with other people because. You could just tell straight away, especially after your recommendation. But it has blown up massively.
Yeah, it deserves it. Totally deserves it.
Yeah, mount your friends. Mount your damn friends. All right, from the sublime to the ridiculous, or the ridiculous to the sublime, I should say. My number 5, I went back to Metro Last Light. I told you I'm crawling through this game. I'm crawling through it. But goodness me, the bit that I played... it's probably about 2/3 through the game, I think. You get back outside after a bunch of stuff underground, as most of the game is. And this incredible sequence in the marshes is one of the best levels I've ever played in any shooter. Like, it really, really reminded me of stuff in Half-Life 2, but looks fucking mustard. Really scary. Basically, you have to get from one part of outside to the other. That's the worst description of all time. But there's like a clear landmark you need to get to, but it's marshes, and if you go into the water, you crash underneath, and you get this amazing view under the water of all the reeds and stuff. And it's actually kind of like, you know, that scene in Lord of the Rings where Frodo falls in and those weird monsters pull him down.
Nope.
People know what I mean. There's no monsters pulling you down, but it kind of reminded me of that. There are, however, monsters coming out of the marshes, these fucking weird, long-legged mutant things, and then you can constantly hear the woof, woof, woof of the flying ones coming overhead, and if they come too close, it'll grab you and pick you up and take you to another part and drop you in the water. And you've only got a small amount of gas, so you're frantically, air filter, wherever it is, frantically trying to get fuel so you can fill up this mechanism to basically get on a mechanised raft thing, a gondola or whatever, and get across this very thick bit of marsh so you can get to where you need to go. It's like hauntingly scary, so atmospheric. It's the best part of the game so far, and there's been some brilliant parts of that game. I think that game, still haven't finished it, so I shouldn't say this, but it does seem to be, in my opinion, it's underrated, because so far 2/3 has just been almost faultless. It's not incredible. Like, there are games that do everything better than this game, but I can't really pick any faults in any of it. It's paced so well, and scene for scene, just constantly, so much variety. It's one of the shooters of the year, definitely.
Shit. I mean, is there word on how the Xbox 360 port is?
I haven't heard a bad thing about it.
Okay.
Like, it looks stunning on the PC, and I've actually whacked up the visuals a little bit higher and lowered the frame rate a little bit. This is a real fucking boring thing to say, but I mentioned it on Twitter and got a few replies. Basically, everyone bangs on about 60 frames per second, and 60 frames per second is obviously really smooth and it's nice. But talking about Bioshock Infinite, everybody that I know, this is just a personal anecdote, everybody that I know that's played it on PC first time at 60 frames per second talks about the game feeling fake, like you're on a movie set, all these things that you've probably heard people talk about Bioshock Infinite. Everyone that I know that played it on Xbox, which is clearly an inferior looking game with a much worse frame rate, was completely immersed by it. And I think sometimes some games actually benefit from being at a lower frame rate that makes it closer to the frame rate we're used to in cinema, and doesn't feel so smooth and almost unnatural, even though life's actually smoother. When I put the graphics up higher on Metro and the frame rate dropped to 30, it was still nice and smooth, but it wasn't as like soupy smooth as it had been, and I actually found it way more immersive. And it's really interesting because, everyone that I know that's played Bioshock first time on PC on a good rig has said that. And and nobody has said that who's played it through on 360, like yourself, me, my good buddy Simon, I should say, Samuel, who was on last week, David Turner's. Everybody's played it on Xbox absolutely loves it. So I mean, it might just be coincidence that I'm saying that, but it's just something that I've thought about.
Okay, that's weird. I haven't heard anyone saying those things, but that sounds like what people were saying about that 48 frame per second cinematic version of The Hobbit.
Exactly. That's that. Our listener Martin replied exactly that.
Yeah, that's strange. I hadn't heard that at all. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think if you're from a PC background, it's all about the frame rate, and I get that. It is smoother. It is smoother, but I'm from a, console ports or console versions have always been, or recently anyway, they seem to get as many flourishes and bloom effects and everything that they can, knowing that they're just going to hit 30, and they'll lower some of the detail. But I'm used to that, so maybe that's why I find it more immersive. I don't know. It feels too much like a computer game when it's on 60 in certain games, but I think that's perfect for multiplayer, perfect for fighting games and whatnot. But who knows? But it certainly made a difference when I switched it down on Metro.
Isn't 60 frames per second only beneficial if you're playing competitive multiplayer online?
It's just a general level of smoothness that it is just noticeably smoother than it is twice as smooth, right? Oh. So there's no doubt that because on PC you can alter it, and you've got the frame counter if you want it, all that sort of stuff. There are situations where you can literally change it to double the frame rate, and you can see how much smoother it is, and it's just a personal choice. But the kind of general accepted wisdom is that 60 frames per second is best. That's what you want. That's the holy grail. Blah 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 blah. 1080p 60 frames per second. That's what the new console should be delivering. But I don't know. I think 30 for some games, the right games might just be better.
Okay, I know nothing about that because I thought it was all to do with competitive stuff, just reaction times and stuff. But I don't know. Okay, my number 5 is a game called One Finger Death Punch on the Xbox 360. It's an indie game. It seems strange that it's come so quickly after Mount Your Friends, but it is another absolutely belting indie game. I can't speak any higher of it. I mean, it's not quite in the same league as Bleed and Mount Your Friends, but it's comfortably in the top 5 or 10% of all of the indie games I've ever played. It's a rhythm action game, but it's not set to music. It's very reminiscent of stuff like it's reminiscent of Rock Band Blitz, strangely enough. Basically you're a guy, a stick man in the middle of the screen, and you only ever use 2 buttons, X and B. Basically enemies come from the left and they come from the right. X, and as soon as they step within a certain range of you, you press X or you press B and you punch them either way. As the game says at the very beginning, you cannot button bash. The second you press a button so every single button press counts. And it starts out and it's quite nice. It's like bang, 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 bang. And then enemies start coming out, and as soon as you hit them, they immediately bounce around the other side of you, so you have to bang, bang, both buttons. And then there's enemies who have numbers underneath them, and that's how many times you have to hit them before they go down. And then sometimes you hit like a boss, and then there'll be a Guitar Hero style stream of notes at the back, like bang, 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 bang. Sometimes they'll drop weapons, long distance weapons, and you have a certain number of those. And it's one of those games that's designed to whip you up into the most insane frenzy, like a really great rhythm action game, like Frequency or something like that. It really reminded me of those sorts of games, although it's not set to music. And then there's other little panels that have different button combinations that you have to press really quickly. There's skills, so you can get a certain number of weapons, or if you get 30 kills, 10 seconds, the enemies are 25% slower, 40... It's an obscene amount of ideas and content, because there are hundreds of levels. There's all sorts... Well, there's definitely 2 different gameplay modes that... How best to describe... I mean, I think I've done a fair enough job. I mean, it's literally... Yeah. 2 buttons, it's a fighting game, and it's just relentlessly good. I mean, it's spectacularly good.
That sounds really good. Is it 80 points?
It's 80 Microsoft points. Again, it's just over-delivering value. I mean, it's like a nothing purchase because it's that good. I mean, you can tell from the trial. Just try the trial. I'm complete. I mean, it's so strange that it's come so close to Mount Your Friends, because that felt like the last great game on the indie games. But this, I'm telling you, if it sounds like the kind of thing you like, if you like fast and frantic, particularly rhythm action games, because literally you're just hitting two buttons. But the amount of mileage it gets out of that, and the amount of clever ideas it brings to the table. But by the sort of 10th, 15th, I mean, they're very short levels. So I'd say the 20th actually, I think there's 280 or something like that. By the 20th level, it becomes so frantic and frenzied, but so much fun. It's brilliant. Incidentally, One Finger Death Punch, Mount Your Friends, and Bleed. Do you know what they all have in common?
You like them?
Oh yeah, there's that. But they're also all from Canada, all developed by Canadian people.
That's strange.
There's something in the water, clearly. But yeah, One Finger Death Punch, Xbox Live indie games. It's terrific. It's not for everybody, but if you like, if you like the games that are designed to just batter your adrenaline gland, then just get it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to get that.
Good.
That sounds fun. One Finger Death Punch. All right.
It's pure glee.
That does sound good. All right, my number 4. A game I've talked about a billion times on this podcast is Hotline Miami. It came out on PlayStation this week, PS3 and Vita. So for some reason, I don't know what it is, that game has its hooks in me somehow. I ended up buying it again for Vita, and yeah, it's probably the best version. I had my worries about how it would work with the change to twin sticks. To change, two twin sticks from mouse and keyboard control, but it's actually way better. The movement was always going to be better on a stick than on 4 directional keys, but I was worried because you kind of click on the enemies. But as you get better at Hotline Miami, a lot of it is actually melee combat, and all the shooting stuff you tend to lock onto something or just aim in one specific direction, like aiming through a door and enemies run at you. You can still lock onto stuff on the Vita by using a touchscreen. You just drag it, find someone, tap, and then you'll lock onto them. So yeah, it works absolutely fine. It looks great. It's the best it's ever looked. It really pops on that screen. The screen's great for that style of graphics. And yeah, it's such a good game. The only problems I've ever had with the game really are problems with bugs, which I've had a ton of, and it's kind of been a love-hate thing. But it must have affected me somehow, that the fact that as soon as it came out, I was like, I think I need to buy that, and did straight away. I can't really add much more beyond that because I've spoken about the game so much before, but it just kind of feels weird to play a game so... I mean, it's a grubby game. It really is. It feels like it belongs, like something that you drudge up by looking in the wrong place and on the PC, and you've got this grubby-ass game. And the fact that it's on a proper console on a shiny screen with proper controls and stuff just kind of feels weird because it's nasty. It's a genuinely nasty game. But yeah, that seems to be the direction that PlayStation's going in at the moment. You've had their what's his name, Yoshida or whatever it is. Shuhei Yoshida, is that the guy, the head of games? He's been talking about it all week, and it's front and centre on PSN stores, so they're pushing it really hard. It's kind of strange because it's pretty harsh game. A lot of drugs, a lot of violence, but that's it. They're pushing the indies so hard, and that's great.
Yeah, indeed. So all of the worries that there were about porting it to a console, they have. I mean, I think, was it you or Dave Turner was saying that there's no way it would be as immediate without a mouse and keyboard, but they've managed to fix that, have they?
Both of us, but I think when you first play it and you're getting your head around it on PC, you think there's no way it could be on twin sticks. But when you actually understand how the game is actually played at a decent level, you realise that the way you were playing before is actually really inefficient, and the way that you learn to play it works much better on twin sticks. So I've gone in now with a level of experience that I know how to play the game. I played the fuckload of it, but I think if you're going in without that experience, it would actually still work because people have experience. You'd be fumbling about in the dark in a different way than you do on PC. You'd be fumbling about trying to play it like Geometry Wars or a twin-stick shooter and getting your ass handed to you that way, instead of fumbling about trying to play it like a weird top-down FPS/dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
Which either way you're fumbling about in the dark, and either way you're going to have to hear restart a billion times because that's the way the game's structured. But please get it now. You can. You'll love it. I know you'll love it.
How much was it?
It's 674.
Fair play. You've only played
cross-play.
You've only played it on the Vita, not the PS3.
Yeah, it is cross-play and cross-save, but I haven't downloaded it. I haven't. Yeah, okay. I've only got it on Vita.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
And the sequel's coming too.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. Is it? Have they released screenshots? Is it exactly the same?
It's the same gameplay, but I think it might be. It's really clever. It's like a lot of it's set as a film set, and then it's all about the followers, the copycat killers or something. It just sounds really clever. But to be honest, if the gameplay's there and the music's there, and apparently the new music and the new one's amazing, then that's all that matters.
Okay, sweet. Okay, well, no, I've needed an opportunity, so I'll pick that up.
I think you will love this game.
Cool. Okay.
Especially if you can go into it with none of the bollocks that I've had, because I've had no issues so far on Vita. It's clean.
Sweet as in that. Okay, I'll do that. My number 4 is Mirror's Edge on the Xbox 360. I've spoken about it a couple of times because I'm trying to get through it. I made the mistake of thinking that I could get through it on hard. There's 2 achievements. One's for completing the game on hard, and one's for doing the entire game without shooting anybody. I'm almost certain that they didn't envisage that people would try and do those 2 simultaneously, because it's basically impossible. I say basically because I've just got past a bit that I spoke about last time, where I got to a garage, and basically you have about 6 or 7 guys shooting at you, and on hard you die after 2 bullets, sometimes 1 bullet, sometimes 1 melee hit from them will kill you, sometimes 2. It's clearly you have to get. They may say that, and they may have said in the past that you can play the whole thing without picking up a gun. You can't on hard, but I say that. After retrying it probably somewhere in the region of 200 times, I managed.
Oh my god!
I know it was. I still have. There's a sort of a piece of music that started every time I restarted. And it's drilled into my brain, and it makes me want to throw up. But I finally did it, and I just basically had to. You can't. They can't have intended. It's basically they didn't playtest that. They never thought about the eventuality of someone doing that. I can't believe, because it's pure accident. The way I did it 10, 15, 20 times the same way. And died every time, so it was just pure luck that I did it. But anyway, it's still I still think very highly of it. It's such a damn shame that it does descend into this action game at the end. But the fact that I have got past it means that I am going to continue. Although at one point I got so frustrated I just started shooting people, and I hope that the save doesn't take that. Not that it will matter at the end. I just want to get to the end now. I'm basically in the final 10th. I think I just want to get to the end. But yeah, I was just so goddamn happy to see it appear at E3. So yeah, it looked bloody nice as well. It did. I mean, yeah, I really like the belligerent "it's ready when it's ready" thing at the end. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, that's the attitude that people like Nintendo and Rockstar have, and Valve, and they don't shout about it, so shut up. But no, I hope. Although Dave Turner, again, the last time he was on the podcast, he said it should be open world, and I thought, the more I thought about that, I was like, how's that going to work? Because Mirror's Edge, the great thing about it is you're problem solving at ridiculous speed. So you open a door, it's like, right, I've got to go there, I've got to go there, I've got to go there. If it's open world, or it's not really going to be open world. I don't think the games, if they make it work, fair play, and if anyone's going to make something like that work, it's DICE. But trying to imagine the same degree of excitement and pace that the Mirror's Edge 1 has in 2 with a sandbox, I don't know. I don't think it'll work. Unless there's just every single route you could possibly take has those decisions that you can make. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really looking forward to it. I love the first one the more I play it, despite the ending. Yeah, I just do hope that they take on board all that stuff about the guns, and that people want. I'm sure they know more than anybody what the game should be. So the thing is, it's kind of. I mean, the thing is, in the first one, you can throughout it pick up guns and start shooting people if you want. So they've left it as an option to be avoided. But when you get to the end and you have to shoot people, that's a real problem. So I don't mind if you can pick a gun up here and there, but it's something that I'll avoid, and so will most people. Yeah. All right. My number 3 is Animal Crossing New Leaf. I talked about it last week with Sam. I don't have a massive amount more to add to it. People that I'm reading on Twitter have got a lot further in the game than me. I'm just literally opening it up, playing it for about 20 minutes each day. My little boy absolutely loves it. He just wants me to go. All he cares about is picking apples.
So I'm kind of past the point where you should be shaking trees down for apples and selling them for fuck all. But that's all he wants me to do. He's like, apple, apple, apple. I'm like, all right, mate. And then he's like, alpaca, alpaca. Go and see the alpaca. And I'm like, I'll go and see the alpaca and I'll sell the fucking apples. I don't know what it is. It's a game about nothing. It really is a game about absolutely nothing. But somehow, through Nintendo's like almost effortless charm and some systems in the background that seem to be compelling you onwards and seem to make these other little animals in your town feel like real people, somehow real animal people, it's really compelling. And I will pick it up and open it up every day and see what's going on, see who's going to move into my town, see what I can do as the mayor, see what's going down, try and pay off my loan, try and get some more special Nintendo items for my house.
See what you can do as the mayor. Are you the mayor already?
You're the mayor. You're the mayor straight away.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
That's like the twist of this version.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I have never seen the game. The thing is, the only thing I know about Animal Crossing is like when I lived in Holland fucking years ago, and I went into this wicked independent game store in Amsterdam, and they had they'd imported an American copy of the GameCube version of Animal Crossing, and some guy was just playing it in the shop, and you were roaming across the road. There was a guy singing a song about cucumbers or something, and it was the most charming, funny thing I'd ever seen. I just stood there watching it, and there's all this fucking random dialogue about cucumbers and stuff, and I thought, I don't know what the hell's going on, but it makes you, it's got that Nintendo, like you said, yeah, the Nintendo charm. I still don't have a fucking clue. I mean, I know people say it's nothing, it's not a conventional game in any sense of the word, but I suppose I'm going to have to get it. Have you hooked up with people and you're starting to share things and they're going to your town and whatnot, that stuff? No, none
of that stuff, just me, but the thing is, you'll open it up because it's all about, it's kind of strange game. I was talking about it last week that, it comes to a point every day where there's not really anything else you can do unless you're going to leave the thing on all day. But I think you need to just turn it off and just turn it back on again later.
Yeah, that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But that's unusual, isn't it? A game that's like, all right, you're done now. There's nothing else to do. I mean, you can pick apples forever, but eventually, you're not really earning many bells off it.
Is it fun to pick apples?
I don't know.
Where's the fun?
It isn't not fun. It isn't not fun. That's the thing. It isn't not fun. It's so weird because I hate grindy shit, but it doesn't feel like that. It's like, I'll just sell a few apples, see what's happening, and then you'll bump into this monkey that's just moved in called Rocket, and it was actually a girl, big pink monkey, and she's kind of interesting. She likes talking about. She's kind of paranoid, so she's having problems. She doesn't feel like she's fitting in and all this sort of stuff. So that's interesting. I gave her a present, and then there's this guy Pierce who runs around as a big bird who likes weightlifting. So you just bump into them as you're doing your things and have a chat, and they'll say something funny, and then every time you turn it on, there'll be a new plot of land that's opened up in your town. You're like, oh man, Tammy's going to move in. Who the fuck's Tammy? What type of animal is she going to be? What's she going to have in her house? Am I going to be able to share anything? And I don't, what am I even talking about? Why would I care? But you do. Okay. You do. And I don't care about anything like that in other games, ever.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, I have to just get involved, really, I suppose. I have to.
It's nothing. But to have on your 3DS, I have the downloaded version, and just to be able to flip it open once a day when you've got a bit of free time, or it's a lovely break from work, I'll tell you that much. Flip it open, 20 minutes of just serenity, nonsense, a few laughs, and then shut it away again.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, every fucker in the planet is playing it at the moment.
Yeah, really.
I need to get involved. Okay, all right. My number 3 is Battlefield 3.
Really?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I've decided that I hate what they've done with Capture the Flag. I've mentioned it before. I know that they've taken the kill zones out. So what Capture the Flag is a race to plant spawn beacons in the other team's spawn and just spawn kill them. I know there are probably hardcore 60-year-old PC players who are like, but it's a completely new game. I don't care. It's really unsporting to do that. Every time you stop playing like that, I can't handle it. Why? It's like there are rules for a reason. The fact that they've created this free-for-all where it's inviting players to spawn trap, and on the rare occasion that you find a game where the other team aren't doing that, someone on your team will start doing that, and you'll just start rinsing and it's just no fun. I don't know why they've done it. Second of all, I'd never thought about this before, but they should have mixed Capture the Flag with the close quarters maps. That would have been pure gleam. Yeah, that's about it. Batters is all right.
Batters. Cool news that the tower that falls down in Battlefield 4 isn't scripted.
Yeah, I like the sound of everything about Batters at the moment, but then I would.
Yeah, no, I'm up for a bit of Batters 4, no doubt.
For 5 minutes. For 5 minutes.
Well, probably putting 20 hours into 3, 100 into Bad Company 2. I've done a shift. All right, my number 2 is T-Lao, The Last of Us replay. I'm assuming it's in your top 1 or 2.
It's my number 1.
All right. I don't have anything else to add. I just want to hear what you have to say about it, so I'll kind of leave it at that. But I still haven't played multiplayer.
Neither have I. No.
I've still only got the debug version, so I've just been replaying it on that. But I'm hearing it's actually really cool, so I want to get hold of the proper version and play it.
Yeah, it's something I've always intended. I've been intending to do, but I haven't got around to just yet. But yeah, okay, we'll talk about it in a sec.
All right.
Okay, my number 2 is Fuse on the Xbox 360. I completed it. It's a very, very difficult game. I take it you have had. Of course, you haven't played this. No one has. No one's playing it. No one's talking about it. No one cares about it, except schmucks like myself. The thing about it is that it could have been, as well as being what I am 95% certain is a genuinely excellent multiplayer game. If you come across people in years to come who've played this on 4-player, don't be surprised if they rave about it, because I have no doubt that it's a great multiplayer game. But the thing is that it comes so close to being a superb single-player one as well, because what I thought after the demo was that if you can master switching between these 4 characters quickly, it will be really exciting. And to be honest, I had so many moments where that happened, because that you can use any reason you like. So if you're one player and then you run out of ammo, you can quickly loop to another guy and then use up all their special or all their ammo. Or if you need a melee, there's a guy who's got a melee shield, you can quickly morph to him and then you can drop the shield, go back to someone. I mean, once you can jump between those characters really fast in the heat of battle, it's really exciting. The problem is that it doesn't give you many opportunities to do that. And there are instances where, particularly during the final boss battle, but actually throughout the whole game, where you'll get downed. And when you're down, you can't change people, and you'll watch your teammates running around in circles, ignoring you, or doing something, just completely oblivious to the fact that you're down. Occasionally they'll pick you up, or occasionally they'll pick up you first when another player got down first, and if the player's clock ticks out, then the whole game's over. But there's situations where I'm watching people, I'm like, if I fail this and I'm so far away from a checkpoint, why am I watching? Just the idea of sitting and watching AI and come and pick me up, and if they just don't, the game's over and you have to go back 10 minutes. It doesn't work. They should have implemented systems where you don't rely on AI, because a lot of the time they just ignore you, and that's mental. If you're getting hit by a massive boss, you'll all just be there on your hands and knees all together in a massive puddle of shit, while the other guy doesn't come in. Whatever, it doesn't work quite as well as a single player game as it should, and it's annoying because it could have been great. The plot, your beloved Jet Brody,
Jetty boy,
is nothing on these 4. Have you seen the full characters in Fuse?
Yeah, honestly, the second they changed the art style, I can't. It's like I could watch it. I could watch the whole game when I let's play it, and none of it would go in. I'd just sit there blankly.
I know what you mean. On the surface, it is. I mean, there's the leader is a meathead, a gruff meathead. His second in command is a feisty redhead, and then there's the sort of sass-talking black guy, and then there's the slightly bookish guy who's shock horror as a woman. So there's 2 women and 2 guys. My God, they broke the mold. And the plot is unreal. I mean, it's I'm a writer by trade, so are you. If you watch Fuse and listen to the cutscenes, I've heard it said many times that on some games like this, writing duties just fall to whoever's not busy on that day, and they just. And this is very much that kind of game. There's just action sequences and no plot and no nothing. I mean, you don't need that stuff, but it's just callous how poor it is. And there's bits where you're like, really? I mean, there's everything that happens you've seen before.
It's strange though, because I mean, I assume it's different teams, but the Ratchet and Clank games are pretty like they're well written games, aren't they?
They've got that kind of really nice surfer dude humour, and it's like
I mean, they're not amazing, but
the writing stuck out in those for me as well. It has less than no personality. It has so little personality that it actually made me quite angry. I mean, I started making a noise that I'm sure sounds like old. I kept making this noise because, like Buzz Lightyear when he's Mrs. Nesbit in Toy Story, because there are bits where I was just like, "Are you serious?" There's a bit where the bad guy is like, "I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this." Boom! His guy gets killed. What are you doing, second in command? I am. He gets usurped by the second in command. There's a bit where one of you knows. There's a bit where one of you knows something. We're all fucks. Maybe we're not fucked. You knew about this whole time? Don't fight amongst each other. I mean, it's a series of things that you've seen 3,000 times before, and it's not done with any kind of edge. It's not like they're saying, "Hey, remember this?" It's like they didn't want to write a story. They didn't want to write any dialogue, so they just cut and pasted stuff from. I mean, it's mind-blowing. I mean, I was sitting there literally yelling at the screen. And then there's a twist ending. Oh my god, I don't even want to talk about it. Despite all this, I think it's actually a really good game. And like I said, for people, I have no doubt that it's actually bordering on being excellent. I've no doubt. The problem is, and Martin, our listener, pointed this out ages ago, you can buy a board game and all play it for whatever it costs, 20 quid. But if me and 3 mates want to play this tomorrow, it's going to cost us £160 to do it. That makes no fucking sense, especially at the end of a hardware cycle. I can't believe that EA haven't. I mean, at 20 quid, you could probably bite your tongue and bear it. But the fact that they're still putting games like this out for £40 is ridiculous, because it's just that's yeah. It's a fascinating project because of its weird history and the fact that it's turned out with so many brilliant elements and so many god fucking awful ones. I recommend it in a strange way. I read the new issue of Games TM and it got a 7. I'd probably stand by that.
All right. I'm never going to play it. Everything about it makes me very sleepy.
Yeah,
but I ain't going to hate.
One more thing. There's a really cool combo system. One of you will turn the enemies into statues, and then the other guy, you destroy them, and it will come up boom shatter times 4 times 4 times 4, in tiny little writing, in the most conservative and restrained way possible. And when you get a multiplier, multi-kill, or whatever, you want it to go boom shatter, bah, 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 bah. You want it to do that, but the way it just sort of comes out and goes, yeah, great combo, man. Do it again and you'll get the same kind of reaction. There's no points aren't important. Anyway, it's a fucking mess, but I strangely recommend it, but for God's sake, not at 40 great British pounds.
Fucking hell no. Surely it's not that price anymore.
I think it probably is, to be honest. Well, I don't know. I have no idea.
Fuse. I can't even think of anything clever to say.
No, it's
just everything about it just sends me to sleep.
Yeah, it made me angry. Just the lack of invention in it. But the gameplay's quite good sometimes.
It just makes.
I know what you mean. That's what I was like. I was like, I can't hack this anymore. But the gameplay saved it.
Damn. All right. Okay. I'll try and bring it back. Fuse is a killer. Number 1 for me. What's this game called? New Super Luigi U. I think that's what it's called, isn't it?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So you know what it is. It's the DLC for New Super Mario Bros. U. Yep. Costs quite a steep 18 quid, but it is it's 82 new levels for this game, where you play as Luigi. Now it uses the same map, and it uses the same assets per level. So if it's a hilly level with a bunch of the flying squirrels, it will be that again. But the entire geometry and structure of the level will be completely different. So it is a new level. It's just coloured in with the same crayons, basically. The kind of hook with the game is that it's much harder and much faster. All the levels are much shorter, so they're more. My favourite level of any game ever is the one of the first 2 levels on Super Mario World on the SNES. You know, at the beginning of that game, you can go right or you can go left. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go right, it's a normal level. If you go left, it's the one that's like and it's got all the little blocks that they kind of stretch out to 5 blocks and then go back to a single block, and the screen moves with you. And if you play that level a lot, you can do it without stopping flawlessly and get all the coins. And it's just such a brilliantly designed level. I could play it forever. I love it. This is like that. At its best, this is like that level. At its worst, it's just frustratingly difficult. And for some reason, they've still included that thing where you have finite lives. And if you run out of lives, you get kicked back. So you can only save at the ghost houses or like normal Mario. But it's because it's so much harder and you die so much more frequently, you spend loads of time out of the game, like reloading the level or just back on the map. And loads of time, like more than once, I just lost all my lives. And it's either a choice of going back, trying to spam all the toad houses and get more lives, and that's not fun. Or just fucking, losing everything and losing 2 levels progress. And sometimes you kind of spawn your way through a level, you fluke your way through it. So to be kicked back and have to do it again, that sucks. I don't understand why they didn't just kick that out. They've redesigned the game with difficulty in mind. So I think they should have just kicked that out the door. That's the only real complaint. The rest of it, it's there's some real classic levels in there, and even the ones that aren't that good are still fun. The mechanics are great. Luigi's new slightly floatier jump is actually intrinsic to the design of all the levels as well. So they couldn't actually be played with Mario in the same way. It's cool. I haven't played multiplayer, but apparently the Nabbit guy is one of the extra characters now, and he can't lose lives to make it easier for a second. I don't know. I don't care. But it is quite steep at 18 quid, I have to say. But it is good. But I tell you what, the strangest thing of all is, it made me think this weird thing about Luigi, because the map's exactly the same. I'm thinking, in the fiction of this game, Mario has gone on this journey, and it's a fairly gentle Mario game for the most part. The difficulty ramps up towards the end. I think Luigi's having some sort of psychosis or some mental breakdown, because he goes to the same places, but what he sees is this nightmarish hell from day one, where everything's as difficult as it possibly can be. There's pits everywhere, there's flames everywhere, there's like a million monsters, and I think he's been mentally scarred by those fucking trips to the mansion. He's fucked.
Jesus. So you think that it's not worth £18? How many levels are there? 82?
82. No, I think the price is steep. I think it is worth it, but that's quite expensive for DLC, generally.
Well, it depends how big. 82 sounds like a hell of a lot, especially for a Mario game. If they're of a high quality.
Well, it's all the levels again, but you can do a lot of them in 15 seconds, 20 seconds. So they are a lot shorter. It's very good. It is very good. I just think it would be better. It would have been better at a tenner.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Because it's the exact same map and all the assets are reused, and which is why it's DLC and cheaper, and that's fine. But I guess in a way where you can probably pick up Fuse for 18 quid now to have that for. It is a little bit steep, but only a little bit.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do, Nintendo, about dropping the price, because this is their first proper. They're finally starting to get into proper downloadable content now. So.
Yeah. But it's also coming out as a retail disc, as Sam said, on the same day as Pikmin 3. What the fuck are they doing? They're on crack.
As usual, yeah, they're fond of doing things like that. But is the retail disc going to have the Mario game on it as well?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Do you have to insert the disc to play the DLC?
Yes.
So it's probably going to be on the.
I don't know. But then they'll still want to sell that game. No, I don't think it will, because they'll still want to sell the Mario game for full price, and they'll sell that for years.
Yeah, that's the point. All right, well, we'll see. Okay, I still want to play that, because I still think...
No, I don't know if I've undersold it slightly. It's a bit steep, but I don't mean it any more than that. I don't think it's... I think, if you really like Mario 2D games, this is still a fine one. It does feel like that level in Super Mario World. If you like that, if you prefer the 2D Mario levels where it's constant movement, 2 out of every 3 levels are great. I wish they'd just kick the finite lives thing out the window. It just doesn't work here. It works fine in normal Mario. It's still annoying, but it definitely doesn't work here.
I wish they'd gone more into him going mental. That sounds like
He's really losing it. He's always getting lost, isn't he? And just getting stuck. Like in Mario Galaxy, he's always lost. He's just rocking in the corner somewhere. I feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah, I do like Lou. I've got a lot of time for old Luigi.
Yeah, I do. I don't think Waluigi exists either. That's just his alter ego.
Okay, my number one is The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. I finished it 3 or 4 hours ago.
Oh, sweet. You got to the end.
I did. I finished it, yeah. It is a complicated scenario, this one. And I think so much of it has to do with the critical reaction. As much as I've tried to put that to the back of my mind.
So hard.
It is. I mean, I actually would go so far as to say I think that it's impossible. Because I couldn't stop noticing things that were wrong with it whilst I was really enjoying it. And it's a sort. I think the 9 out of 10 that you gave it is absolutely bang on the money. I've actually been on dipping into a load of forums like Eurogamer and NeoGAF and stuff, and there are a lot of people who seem to resent the fact that it's got a 10 out of 10 because a 10 out of 10 has to be technically perfect, and The Last of Us isn't technically perfect. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought I don't know whether I agree with that or not. Because if someone came up to me and said, what's a 10 out of 10 game, the first thing, before I even have the chance to consider it, that would pop into my head is Vanquish. And Vanquish is perfect in almost every department. I was playing through this. It's a tremendous game. It's a brilliant reward if you've stuck by the PlayStation 3. It's a fantastic... I mean, Naughty Dog have... I think, on the whole, Uncharted 2 is the better game, but it's fantastic. It's a must-buy if you have a PlayStation 3. I couldn't stop noticing problems with it. It is a shopping list of things that are wrong. I mean, the thing is, if it's really working for you, you wouldn't. Those things don't matter, and they are insignificant. But the impulse to give it a 10 out of 10, it never crossed my mind. There is too much wrong with it.
What like?
Let me think. I mean, I'm amazed that I can't think of anything. I mean, there is stuff we talked about where Ellie's constantly out in the open and stuff. I turned a blind eye to that. That's just that's one thing. More than sort of technical hitches as such, there were just some really archaic pieces of game design. I mean, there's a bit where you hunt for a deer. That's not really a spoiler. You hunt for a deer for food, and every time you fire an arrow at it, it moves as you step over invisible lines that trigger it, which felt like I was playing a Super Nintendo game or something. If you walk over a line that you can't see, it'll do a runner, and then you have to run to the next point. It just does a pit stop of these 4 same places. It felt like something from an ancient game. I mean, run up the hill, fire an arrow, it runs to place B. You run back to the other place, you fire an arrow, boom, and if you walk over the line, it'll run before you get the chance to shoot at it. I was like, that is old school rubbish. And in the second act especially, I don't care how artful the joins are. If you're just leading players between siege scenarios, horde basically, that gets really tiring. And the gunplay is not amazing. I think it's solid, and I think the gunplay in Uncharted is solid. I never had the problems with it that some people have, but there were points where I was just like, I'm just going from A to B, despite how good the writing was and how compelling the story was, and it's. I called Ellie's name aloud at least 3 times, and that's the kind. I don't do that. I mean, I berate games because they're games, but for a game to achieve that in the same way that a movie does is quite something. There was a plot twist, which obviously I won't reveal, where I really went, oh no. But it's basically a faultlessly engaging story, and it's a very, very mild gut punch. I love the exchange at the end. I love the way it ended. Really was amazing. I was like, wow, it's an excellent game. There's just things that really. I mean, the other thing is that it feels like a response to those people who always said that the Uncharted games sort of did too much for you. This is much gamier than those Uncharted games, and part of what animates it as a project is the difficulty, because it is unapologetic about what it is, and it is genuinely difficult. So
it is, yeah.
There were times when I'd leave it for a couple of days, come back, die. Oh my god, they've made it too difficult. They've misjudged the market. They've done all, and I'd come out with all this bollocks, and then when you nail it, give it another 20 minutes to bed in. The bit I remember most fondly is when the first time you give Ellie a rifle and she oversees you and you go into this area where there's like 9-10 guys. Yeah. Acing that and taking them all out without her ever having to fire a bullet. I was like, fuck. And at the end, when it builds up to the climax and you're basically on not a revenge mission, but you're so energized. There were spikes in it that were just as thrilling as games get, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the problems, I think, are more. I mean, is it me or a PlayStation 3 owners a bit? If you're a PlayStation 3 advocate and you don't have another console and you go online to talk about the PS3 and the games, I honestly think there's a 30% chance that you're also a fucking lunatic. I mean, when the first time you talked about it, I put a video on our YouTube channel, a YouTube review, a video review, sorry. And before the game was out, some guy came on. He was like, "Yeah, 9 out of 10. Hey, not a bad score for me personally. It's a 10 out of 10." And it's just like, if you haven't played it, these people are fucking insane.
Yeah, I think it stems from a strange inferiority complex because it's been the lowest selling console, and that's the decision you make. And I've noticed it because on a job that I did for a while, I had to put everything up on N4G, that vile website.
Yeah.
And that seems to be where all the PlayStation 3 fanboys hang out. And they're fucking weird. They will argue anything about a fucking computer games console to death over nothing, and get so protective over its wares, and that does seem to kind of filter down even to less extremes with more like that comment. It's a reasonable thing to say, but it's still kind of grounded in insanity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, I'm sure what's his name from Polygon's been getting hate mail, like the guy from the AV Club did when he gave Uncharted 3 7 or whatever. Yeah. Because there is a reluctance to point out things. I mean, that's The Last of Us ends so strongly. The final couple of hours are just superb. That I could feel, and the use of music as well. I mean, there's a
the score is incredible.
Yeah, I felt wistful and kind of melancholic the way you do after you watch a great movie, and you're kind of sort of exhausted but exhilarated, and that can sort of. I like to think that may have played a part in people giving it the perfect score. It's just this, there's bits. I mean, there's a boss battle in a burning building. I was like, really, guys? Are we going to do that for the millionth time? There's things in it that it's annoying because I have a feeling that if I hadn't have been bombarded with 10 out of 10 review scores, I probably would have turned a complete blind eye to most of these problems. Yeah. And I still think it's a fucking tremendous video game. I mean, really tremendous. And yeah, I mean, the 9 out of 10, absolutely. It's just I have real respect for how unapologetic it was, and when I left it alone and came back, and it was hard, and I was angry, and I was like, it's a game in which you'll die a lot, and if you're prone to finding that frustrating, this is going to bother you if you take breaks from it like I did. But there are bits when you have to embrace. The first time you see that mobile gun turret, the Jeep with the machine gun on the back. When it first encountered, I was like, "What am I supposed to do? Where the hell am I supposed to go?" And there are moments like that throughout it where you are supposed to just go with the confusion and work your way out of it. And I hate people that say this because people say it about films, they say it about music, but we are so used to being led by the hand that we're not accustomed to things like that. So it feels like much more of a gamey game than the Uncharted games, which were very, very happy to sort of lead you. I mean, The Last of Us is linear completely, but I really did like those bits where you had to sort of use your noggin a little bit, and it was reminiscent of Manhunt of all things.
It really was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal game, but like I said, the idea of it being a 10 out of 10, I think that's a strange impulse.
Yeah, like we said, it's so difficult to distance yourself from that, especially in a world the way we are, where we're kind of submerged in that kind of conversation all day, every day. Yeah. A lot of the talk since it's come out has been talking about this game and BioShock Infinite and why this is a 10, why that's a 9. Why, it's an interesting discourse. Yeah. For me, I mean, I was lucky enough to be able to play both without any critical anything. I reviewed them both. So I think both for Games CM, in fact. And I ended up giving BioShock a 10 and The Last of Us a 9. The reason The Last of Us didn't get a 10 for me was there were small problems with it. They didn't bother me that much. It was more that I got a bit tired of the combat during certain sections, and I felt the opening few hours, apart from the actual opening, were a little slow. And I could have done with maybe a few more options in combat, and that was about it, really. Yeah. It was it was about as close as I've ever got to giving a 10. But The Last of Us, it left me feeling exactly as you did for a short time. melancholic and wistful, and thought about the game and the highlights and stuff like that. But it felt like a story as well written as it is, and I think it's fantastically written and amazingly well acted. It's amazing that they can get that level of performance when you've seen behind the scenes how stupid they look. They're just in a fucking room dressed like absolute idiots. And I didn't realise that she's played by the girl from What Women Want, which is Mel Gibson's daughter in that.
Weird.
In that film, that's Ashley Johnson. I didn't realise. Anyway, it left me feeling a certain way, but then again, I thought, this is a story and tropes and ideas and concepts that I have experienced many, many times in many different mediums, and I don't think it's ever really been done better. But yeah, I mean, you could go back and talk about classic zombie films and stuff like that, but in terms of modern stuff, I think it's better than the Walking Dead TV show, for example. It doesn't go as far as the Book of the Road, but I think it's probably a more entertaining and engrossing piece than the film, because that film's it's very, very hard going. But BioShock, for me, left me asking questions about everything from the meaning of reality to the meaning of relationships and parenthood and all this sort of stuff. And the criticisms people level at that game are absolutely fine. I understand it is, it feels a bit like a film set, especially playing it through a second time when you can see the joins a little bit more. But one thing that's always struck me when people used to slate... No, that's the wrong choice of words. A lot of criticism was levied at Slumdog Millionaire, wasn't it? That these things could never have happened and all this sort of stuff. And Mark Kermode always said brilliantly that you're not supposed to take it like that. It's a parable, and that's how I look at BioShock Infinite, especially as I was playing it. There's a dreamy disconnect to the whole thing, where I wasn't asking the questions of why is this happening, why is there no one here, because it just didn't feel like it was supposed to be completely real. It was supposed to be more about a mood and ideas, and it left me feeling for weeks, I'm not joking, for weeks that game stayed with me. And like I said at the time, like very few films have, Fight Club being one of them, off the top of my head. And Last of Us didn't leave me like that, as amazing as it is, and I think it's a fantastic piece of work. I've watched loads of great videos about it. There was one video game we did a great one today, but it didn't get inside my fucking mind grapes like BioShock did. And comparing the two is ultimately a bit of a waste of time. It's just they're two amazing games that have come out this year, but that's why I probably ended up on the 9 myself. But I don't necessarily disagree with the 10s, but it's great. But ultimately, it's just great that it exists.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's in a way, again, I'm the same, because a 10 out of 10 is, for me, we grew up reading Edge, so an 8 out of 10 is a must-buy, really. The 10 out of 10, I don't know, like I said, that all of these people were talking about tiny things that bother them and why they don't like it because this is wrong and why this, and I thought, I don't know whether there's something to that or not. I don't know whether, I don't know. It's a must play game, but they were just I'm not 100% sure that they picked the correct battles, because there's one bit that's so immersive and you feel so involved, and then there's a bit where you're time's against you and you've got to get out, but there's a room there that you can go and loot, or the NPCs are like, we've got to go, but they'll stand like droids standing at the top of a staircase while you go and loot rooms again. There's loads of situations where it stops. Yeah, not so much care is taken over certain bits as others, but it's phenomenal. You have to play it. I'm still sort of in a glow of it, because I only finished it a few hours ago. But it's when all is said and done, it's just a fucking stunning piece of work, really.
Absolutely. I'll just add one last thing. I've read quite a few people who are saying after 3 or 4 hours, I'm not really feeling this. Some people have given up and things like that. And it's a slow burn at first. It really is. And I've said it before. We talked about it today. But if you're going to play it and you haven't played it yet, don't go, as hard as it is, don't go looking for the 10, and accept the fact that the first few hours are slow, and it's not the game that it ends up being at the beginning. But it does end up being that game that's very, very special. So please, if as much as you can, it is impossible. Just play it for what it is and not what other people have said about it, as much as you can. Yeah. Just because you'd enjoy it more. That's the only reason. You don't have to fucking listen to me. Who the fuck am I? I'm just some guy.
But Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
I do. A few weeks ago, I was for some reason looking at clips on YouTube, and somebody had gone on and spoiled the ending. And I was like, oh, fuck, well, I'll just put that to the back of my mind. And I managed to forget about it until the game ended. And I was like, oh, that didn't happen. Why would you go... You know those fucking shitheads that go on YouTube and spoil the endings of anything? Why would you go on there and do it when it's wrong? I'm like...
But to troll and to get invisible reactions and just, you know, people...
Well, I'm happy...
People need to get outside and have a fucking... climb a tree and do some jiu-jitsu and fucking have a drink or something. And
sample shit on other consoles, maybe, and stop being a fucking lunatic about the PlayStation 3.
Play some fucking Chimpact.
Yeah, I'm going to play some Chimpact. It's earned a download. It's earned a download. Come on, it's earned a download.
It's free. It's yeah.
Chimpact is a title. There will not be a better title this year, there's no doubt.
I'm sure there won't. Sweet, that's it, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What way to end. Thanks for listening. Check out the Twitters, at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and John's. Don't go on the website, shit. Go on the YouTubes, Chet and John's. What else is there? Anything else?
No, nothing. Download One Finger Death Punch, Bleed, and Mount Your Friends. Done. And Chimpact.
Triple threat. Yeah, quadruple threat. And obviously, big thanks to Samuel Roberts, editor of Games TM, for stellar work last week and allowing us to have an E3 centric episode as well when neither of us were out there. So that was awesome. So thank you for that.
And it brought a level of professionalism to the podcast that has been missing up until now. And also, fair play. I've only been to E3 once, but it took me a week to recover because you just fucking run down, you're knackered, you've all got the same cold, but he sounded remarkably with it because it's
straight in. He'd only be back a couple of days. Powerful.
But big thanks to your son, who edited his first podcast. He edited last week.
That was his birthday present. The opportunity to do it. Yeah.
He did a great job.
Don't hate. All right, laters.
See you later.
Mount your friends.
Get on the fucking goat.
You can't get a fucking... This is fucking class.
That you stick. As soon as you touched it, you stuck.
What's the objective? To get higher than
you got to get on top of me, yeah.
I won't stick to you, will I?
No, just whip one of your limbs right round, like, fling it round on top, like, grab the Y, that's it, and then...
Pain station.
What? I've never been much good at cold. Oh, hello.
It does sting.
It does, doesn't it? It's like that Bond film. She reached inside and pulled out a contract that we had to sign saying we wouldn't sue them. And as she was doing this, I was like, okay, I looked at the... hold on, let me have a look. I looked at this sign that was on the wall, and this is what it says. Look, I put this on Twitter, but if you didn't see it, this is what it says. The pain station causes real pain. Playing it is at one's own risk and not the artist's. The artist assumes no liability. After intense play, one of the following injuries can occur. Third-degree burns on the palm due to severe impact of heat, paralysis of the left body, hemiplegia due to electric shocks, hematoma and open wounds on the back of the hand due to repeated whip slashes. And as everyone was, me and Tom and Zeno, they were started to sign this contract, and I started to break out in a sweat, and I was like, if anything's going to kill me, we just spent 3 days out on the piss. I hadn't slept. I was like, the electric shock's going to give me a heart attack and I want to keel over and die in the fucking computer museum. And then the girl looked at me, she was like, it's not that bad. But part of the brilliance of it is that it actually is that bad. Basically, two players have to play it. You stand on either side of the box. You place your left hand on a panel and your right hand you use to use a knob. Basically, in the middle of the screen is Pong. As you play Pong, you start normally, you're just playing Pong, and then boxes start to appear behind your paddle, different colours. There's green, red and blue. So the idea is it's like the wall behind your paddle. As soon as you let a ball go past, it will hit one of the colours, and one of three things will happen. Either the panel will heat up like a hob, like an oven hob, under your hand. A piece of metal tubing will repeatedly whip the back of your hand, or you'll get a small electric shock. Part of the fun of it, I say fun, first of all, it's the anticipation, obviously, because you're playing Pong and you know that something's coming. But also, it's the incredulity, because they actually hurt, all of them. But what happens is there are these collectibles that you try and avoid, but inevitably you hit them, and then the ball goes faster and faster and faster until you just keep getting the shit beaten out of you. The most worrying one is the hob, which just, I mean, after you get hit by that twice on the bounce, you can really feel your hand starting to burn. But it's I'm not making it sound hilarious when it really is hilarious. We were in absolute fits. I actually took a video. I might put the audio at the end of this podcast just so you can hear it. Because you can't do anything. You just about realise where the character is and you start moving it and then it changes again. So it's quite a neat idea, but it kind of pissed me off that I couldn't I mean, they're not really mini games, because if you had to get, if you were Pac-Man, you had to get your dot in, Space Invaders, that would be one thing, but yeah, you don't. It's a novelty thing that you look at for 5 minutes and go, oh, look, things are mixing themselves up. It's nice, but it could have been a good game. Shame. Yeah,
that's a shame. That kind of misses the point of gaming.
True that.
In my opinion, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, that's cool that thing exists, I guess.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to look at, discuss for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Look at you going to Germany and going to fucking art museums. Who are you? Bring back Sam, that's what I say. Right, my number 9 is a game called A Second Chance. Again, someone tweeted this. I think it might have been one of the Idle Thumbs guys. This is a game on Newgrounds, but it's not like most Newgrounds games in that it's good. Basically, you play as a guy who is in charge of... You know the guy that says, Houston, we have a problem, in exactly that voice in Apollo 13?
The actor?
No, but that guy. In real life. That guy. Yeah, okay. Whatever the hell that job would be, you're that guy. Okay. And the plot of the game is Armageddon, basically. You need to send 4 guys with a bomb to blow up an asteroid. You're in the missile command, not missile command, like Rocket Command Land or whatever the fuck you'd call it. And you have a bunch of commands in front of you on a console, and then in the screen in the background you can see little cartoon flashy versions of the 4 guys holding a bomb and a rocket, and you've got stuff like enter rocket, leave rocket, roger. You can do a countdown, launch, detonate the bomb, drill a hole, and the idea is to get them in the rocket, get them up into space, drill a hole in the thing. You can work. It's Armageddon. What's funny about the game is fucking up. Basically, it's not actually that difficult to succeed, but there are a million ways to fuck up, and it compensates and animates all of them. So you might just blow up all your guys straight away, or tip the rocket over, and every single time it just cuts to your guy just face palming, and it's just a really funny game with loads of different outcomes. It's a good way to kill 10 minutes, and just made me laugh constantly. So it's called A Second Chance. Type that into Newgrounds or Google A Second. All right, I don't have anything to say about Donkey Kong. But brilliantly, though, my next game is a game called Chimpact, which...
I like
and
it.
now you can see why I downloaded it.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at what was coming out on 3DS, and I was scrolling down a list. It might have been on IGN or something. And there was this game, Chimpact, and I thought, I bet that's on iPhone because it's got a stupid enough name. And lo and behold, it was. It was actually a free version. It's a Chilingo game, and it has that same thing you've talked about before with a lot of Chilingo games, where everything's in place, but it just lacks a little bit of, flavour.
Yeah.
But you're a monkey, a chimp, I should say, and there are vines. You're going upwards, and you ping down on the vines, kind of almost Angry Bird style, and propel your chimp upwards, and he has to collect bananas. Every time you do collect a banana, a little trumpet sound plays, and it's a bit like Johnny Briggs. And then, you collect diamonds, more diamonds, opened up more levels. It was a really simple iPhone game. It isn't brilliant, but it's fine. It's got an amazing name. It doesn't quite live up to the name, and the monkeys aren't funny enough. They're kind of shit.
Oh.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with monkeys, you've got a lot of potential to be funny. So you need to use that, as far as I'm concerned, especially with a name like Chimpact.
Yeah. Yeah, they shot themselves in the foot coming up with a title.
They went too hard.
Yeah.
I admire them for coming up with a name at some point and then deciding to build an entire game around it. But still,
yeah.
Kudos to whoever came up with that, though. He should be promoted immediately.
Yeah, I second that. Absolutely. Okay, my number 8 is the final game. Well, I played many games at the computer museum, but this is the last one on the list, and it's not really a game. It's more of, it's not even I don't even know what it is. It's called Pain Station.
Oh my God.
I can't remember at the end of last year when we did our top 20 list of the year whether we imposed rules on ourselves and stuff, but if we're a bit lax about it, this is going to make the cut in my top 20 games of the year. I didn't catch. They were very vague about who created it. It's another art exhibit stroke video game, but we got there and it says please get somebody to speak to. You know, you had to go and get the attendant before you were allowed to play it.
Right.
And as soon as she came along and she reached inside it, because it looks like it's basically a huge box that looks almost like a green metal safe.
Chance, Newgrounds, and again gags.
I suppose the idea then is to just fuck up as many times as possible.
Yeah, I fucked up first time, and then second time I did it and saved the world, and you got like a really triumphant screen. And then I thought, oh, well, that was easy. So, yeah, and then I thought, well, let's see what all this other stuff does. And then I realised what the game was actually all about.
Okay, all right, that sounds all right.
It's funny, man. It's genuinely funny.
It's on Newgrounds.
Yeah. It's by Major Bueno. I don't know who that is, but the people who are tweeting about it did. So that might mean something to you.
Okay, well, not me personally, but I'm sure it will to someone. It sounds kind of like Space Team, actually, weirdly.
Oh, maybe. I still need to play that. We should have played that when you were down.
I know, I thought that as I was driving away. Okay, my number 9 is the arcade version of Donkey Kong, which I also played at the German Video Game
Bringing
Museum.
the thunder this week.
Yeah, no, but I saw Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong is my earliest gaming memory. A relative rented me a NES when I was like tiny, and I played that game and Donkey Kong Jr. non-stop. So I was just like, I'm gonna fucking Wiebe this bastard, and I went over and because it has a load of it had a load of arcade cabinets, and they were all free to play. And it's a really ancient cabinet. It's got one of those small. A really small joystick. You know how really hardcore professional Street Fighter players, they sort of put the joystick base in between their thumb and their forefinger and their middle finger, and then they put their thumb on top of it.
Yeah.
And they kind of seem to. I mean, that's how you have to play this. And I found that I had more control over it. It's strange. I'd never played a game like this, but it's. I know they make a big fuss about it in King of Kong, but it's so difficult. I'd completely forgotten how difficult it was. I mean, I also forgot it's only 2 screens long. But I did 3 laps. I did 2 screens 3 times, which is pretty damn good. It's still really, really compelling. Yeah, it's still a classic, and it's. I wouldn't want to play it on a pad because it works so well on that tiny little joystick. It's
What's
great.
the name of the crazy screen?
The kill screen.
Is that what it's called? The kill screen? Yeah.
What, when they're walking around going, we're going to see a kill screen over here.
Oh, yeah, that's
5 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's just called a kill screen.
Twin galaxies up in here.
Yeah, but it's remarkable that it's still as good as it is. Yeah, great. I loved it.
Yeah, I had that one. Was there like a Game & Watch version of that? I think I had that shit.
Oh, it wouldn't have been the same sort of. Well, probably something.
All right, Wiebe, calm down.
Here is how you edit a podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 69 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Roberts. With me as usual is John Denton.
What?
We're going to do what we always do, 2 top 10 lists, the games we've been playing over the past 7 days. Number 10s are the games we played the most, the least. Number 1s are the games we played the most. That's it, John. Let's do this thing.
My number 10 is a game, I think it's called 1,000 Snakes. I bet the best way to find it, I found it, someone tweeted it just before I went out, before we did the podcast. Best way to find it is probably to Google 1,000 Snakes. All I'll say is it's a joke game. It takes probably about a minute to play, and it's got a very fine use of Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. Play it, it takes a minute. It's funny. It made me laugh, but it might not make you laugh, but I'm an idiot. We knew that. Okay, all right, at least it's funny then. I thought when you said Bittersweet Symphony and you said good, I thought it was going to be something... Oh, no. Like one of those types of games.
Oh, good. Let's play for laughs.
No, it's gags.
All right, good. Very good. Okay, right, my number 10 is a game, or rather it's an art exhibit called ROM Check Fail.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, have you really? When I was in Berlin, I went to the Computer Spiel Museum, which is really popular apparently.
Does that mean computer games?
To play, I think Spiel means, yeah. So it's the video game museum. And yeah, there was this art exhibit by some Australian artist called Farbs, and it was on a small screen, and you had an old school joystick with like an Atari joystick. And the blurb said something about there's figures and elements from history and I'm mixing them to create accidentally generated mini-games. It's actually a really nice idea, but like a lot of the stuff at that museum, it's clearly made for people who don't play video games. It's just a bit of a novelty. Basically, a screen will pop up and it'll be a background from Mario or a background from Pac-Man, and in there will be a Space Invader or an Asteroids, or a Zelda will be there, or a missile command screen. Basically, it'll mix the characters or the actions of one game and put them in the background of another, and it does that every 5 seconds. So bang, you're Mario in a Pac-Man maze, bang, it's Missile Command in a Zelda land, bang, but if 5 seconds